I, here we go.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are having a little trouble with our live streaming, but we're just going to record it to the cloud, and then we will get that set up on tomorrow appropriately. Thank you, as this is our Mayoral Community Forum for the month of February 2024. Happy African American Heritage Month. Happy Valentine's Day and Galentine's Day to all of our men out there. Today, we are joined by a wonderful asset in our community, the Honorable Ambassador, Peace Ambassador, Dr. Ife Williams, Esquire. Just real quick, there's a list of amazing accolades, but we want to get to the heart of our discussion. But I want you to know that this is the National President, CEO of the National Congress of Black Women's Incorporated, now the International President of the Dick Gregory Society Incorporated. I also note that she is a member of the former counsel to the U.S. Congress, the D.C. Subcommittee on Judiciary and Education, and she has served the Legislative Council and Chief of Education. She's also a member and was a member of the Chief of Staff for Miriam Berry, the mayor there in D.C., and a former Presidential Scholar Commissioner for President Barack Obama. She has led a lifestyle of service in the law profession, where she actually served as an instructor at the Los Angeles Unified School for International Law, and she has served as the director of Overseas Education Association as well with the Atlanta Association of Educators, the Michigan Association of Educators, and she is also a history maker and a Lifetime Achievement Awardee. Dr. Ife Williams holds a bachelor's degree in speech education and dramatic arts, a master's and a PhD in public administration and administration and supervision, credentials in a Juris Doctorate, a doctor of ministry. We are so honored to have you on board with us as we note your many accolades, and the truth shall set you free. And the Dick Gregory Wake Up and Stay Woke platform, which you run, My Life Story, This Is Me, all that's on the way. Dr. Williams, you are an amazing asset in our community. And if you didn't know, she set a first time for Louisiana, where she ran for U.S. Congress in Louisiana. It's the first Black woman. She has focused her life on the African world, and she has focused her life on the education and the betterment of our community. And again, she lives by a motto that brings excellence in all that she does. A member of Delta Sigma Theta. Now, I'm an Alpha Kappa Alpha girl, but we love all of our sorority
Absolutely,
sisters.
absolutely. I see you got some red behind you there. Like
I know it's Valentine's Day. I honored your sorority as well.
I would have worn my green today, you know, if I'd known we were going to be on video. I love green.
Exactly. But I will say that your quote here is just so immaculate, and it's through our struggle that we gain our victories.
Absolutely.
And what a wonderful.
I know you've had struggles as I've had struggles. I don't know any Black women who are doing things who's not had a struggle. Our sister down in Atlanta, Fulton County, is having struggles right now that she shouldn't be having. Our sister at Harvard, or who was at Harvard, had her struggles. Every day I look at it. But you know why we have struggles? It's because we're doing things that matter.
Absolutely. And I thank you for that quote, because you talked about being a victor, not a victim. And as we look at this Black History Month and the works that you've done, the things you've seen, can you give us an insight into, with a long list of accolades, an insight into what it means to be a victor in your life today?
Well, it just gives you the energy, the strength to go on and to know that you can make a difference in the lives of so many others. And no matter what happens to you in terms of your challenges, as long as you are helping someone else, Dick Gregory taught me never to be fearful, never to hate, never to be jealous. And so I've lived by that. And then I attended Grambling University as an undergraduate. And my mom had already taught me what Coach Robinson also taught me. When I say Coach Robinson, that was the football coach at Grambling, Coach Eddie Robinson. Both of them taught me that I could be anything I wanted to be, as long as I was willing to pay the price. And sister, you know what paying the price is. And sometimes it kind of discourages you, but you get up the next morning and you just keep on going. And when you make someone happy, you help someone along their way, that's what keeps you going. And you know that you never hate, never be fearful. Fear is just something that prevents you from doing things. So you have to just make yourself go. If you take the first step, generally you forget about being fearful, no matter how bad the situation looks in the beginning. I think I've won most of my victories when people said, you can't do that. But you feel like, I got to prove that I can do it. And I love helping people. My mom is a person that I love every day. I get my energy and my strength from her. She reared 9 children, with my dad being gone when I was 11. And the rest of my brothers and sisters were, they were younger than I was. But my mother never allowed us to miss a day in school. She never allowed us to feel sorry for ourselves. She never allowed us to say, I can't do this. She had a saying, let's see, can't been dead, and something like that, but she would encourage us to just get up and go ahead and do it. And we didn't have anything called boys' jobs and girls' jobs. We had to do whatever was there, because we had 6 girls before we even thought about any boys we were glad to see those little ones, but they were too little to do anything. The girls did whatever there was in that family to do.
Absolutely. And you've brought out some amazing themes that our young folks can take a lesson from. We talk often about how Black history is not taught in our schools or taught in our society. And I'm looking at Madam C.J. Walker. With as many people that are interested in the fashion industry, you got to know that in 1911, in the 19th century, we had a Black woman who was largely raised in harsh territory, who was given little, who became a journeyman and an entrepreneur in the industry of hair.
Well, she did all of that just a few miles from where I grew up in Louisiana. She was in Winfield area. I was Alexandria. So I didn't know her personally because she came along a little ahead of me, but certainly we knew about her. We studied about her, and that has led me to, just look at Black women who did so many things years ago when they didn't have even as much as I had growing up, and I didn't have very much, but it's been just wonderful looking and going down the list and naming all the Black women who did things that they were told they couldn't do. For example, I ran for Congress, and I wasn't just the first Black woman to run for Congress in Louisiana. I was the Black person to run for Congress, a Bible race in Louisiana. But you know what? I didn't win. I, quote, lost by less than 0.5% after the computer broke down. I had been the winner before that. But since I ran, look how many Black men we have had in Congress from New Orleans, even there where they were majority Black. They were not running before I ran. We've had others, someone from Baton Rouge. And you know what? Just last week, we found out the Supreme Court said, we're going to have a predominantly Black district now. It wasn't predominantly Black when I ran, but I ran anyway. And as I said, announced as the winner, but of course, the machines broke down, in quote.
Exactly. And we talked about your journey towards the victories that you've had in your life. And we brought in Madam C.J. Walker for a real reason, because she's Louisiana, but she also was Vicksburg, Mississippi cotton fields. When you think about the life's blood and the spread that the church has had, that was a key influencer in many of the works that she was able to do. And she found, with little formal education, that she found many mentors in the church. And so
Mhm.
I've got some church leaders here on the line. And one of the key things that we wanted to bring out in this discussion is the absolute necessity of the church.
Absolutely. Well, as you were looking at the things that I have studied, I have 2 degrees in the church, one in of course, the ministry, and I have another one. Everybody said, "Why'd you get 2 doctorates in the same field?" I had different professors. I learned different things from them, so I was happy to do that. I studied many fields because I think that the more we know, the more we study, the more we can know how to help our communities. And my mom always taught her little girls to be helpful in the community. When I grew up, we lived in a little town. I don't even know if you can call it a town. It was so far back in the woods. I do not even know the name of what that little town was. But my mom taught us at a very early age our responsibilities in the community. We had to walk to school. We had to walk miles, even little first graders, And my mom finally said, "Oh, this cannot be." She went down to the school board and she got all these petitions signed and took with her, but she had her little girls go around in the community and help to collect those signatures. And once she got the signatures to get a gravel road, see, we didn't even have a road for a bus to come on. So after we got it for the gravel road, we then had to go back to our neighbors and get another one signed to get the bus to come and pick up not just her little children, but all the children in the area. And when I talk about neighbors, we were not like just next door or just down the block. We were miles apart sometime, but my mother was concerned about everybody in the community, and she taught us to do the same, to be concerned.
You know, Dr. Ife Williams, I love your story because we have a lot of similarities. Myself, I'm the baby of 9. And I don't know if you knew that. I was raised in northern Mississippi. I'm the 9th child, born on the 9th day on my father's birthday. So there's a lot of similarities in our life's journey. And as we look at the workforce, I tell people all the time, we're about to have 7 generations in the workforce. Give us 4.5 more years, we'll have 7 generations. And the work that you're doing, even with the Dick Gregory Society, the work that you're doing is keeping us in line with the origination of ending discrimination, gaining equal rights under law, and now with a constitution in place that affords us, you've interviewed many. Before you came online, you were watching the Kentucky story, right?
I've done that, right? Today was Kansas City. You mean the
Kansas City story, yeah.
But there is a Kentucky story too, where I went with Malik Shabazz, as you know that brother. We went there to try to get the arrest of the woman who had Emmett Till murdered. Unfortunately, she died shortly after we were there. We didn't kill her, but she died. I guess we frightened her or something, and she went on out of here because we decided that she was going to pay for what she did to Emmett Till. And some people are saying, "You went there?" I said, "Yes, I did." And we were surrounded by police everywhere. But at the end, we were able to shake hands with the brother. It was a Black police officer in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And we met each other midway. And he said to me, and I'll never forget, he said, "If I had some paperwork that I could arrest her, I would do it because, I'm Black too, and he said that. And I thought that was very nice of him to make that admission that he was doing his job, but his job included that he agreed with what we were doing.
Yes. Honestly, you are a legacy. I mean, a legend. And the work that you continue to do, this is where our community needs to build an educational resource that shows that while we have the Constitution in place, we have the rights in place, the First Amendment, the 14th, 15th, 16th Amendments, what we don't have really is that equal protection still. We are working hard in maintaining the movement at a nonviolent, but we're also watching our Black on Black crimes as well.
Yes.
How have we as a nation, as a people, you work a lot with the African diaspora, the African Union, the World Conference of Mayors. What are you seeing as a nation, as a people, the African diaspora? How are we looking?
Well, I think a part of it has to do with we're not teaching the history of our people in schools, not just in Florida. This is going on a lot of places across the country. When I was growing up, it was mandatory. I mean, we didn't know there was no Black history. We always knew who was doing things in our communities, and we respected them. And our parents upheld us in that. We had to respect our elders. A lot of parents don't teach that because a lot of them were not taught to do that. So I think as long as we work together now, and we've got to start doing it because so much is happening. I've said, and I see one of my friends there in the background, Commissioner Ings, I've said, you know, I'm going to Canada in June to speak for an event. I might have to stay up there if things don't go right in this election. So I hate it when I hear young people saying they are going to vote for a certain other person who is causing all these problems, not only in our country, but around the world in terms of what he is saying. So we've got to get back to the point where parents allow those of us who may know better in something to teach their children. If the parents don't know what to tell them, you know, we used to have to listen to an adult, whatever they told us, and our parents upheld them in doing that. That is not necessarily true now. And so the children suffer because they don't get taught enough of what they should be doing. We had to, as I said, seven little girls, but we had jobs to do. We had to support our community. We had to help in our community. And we need to get back to that. I think all children need to be working at a certain age, working on something in their communities.
I think I have, I'm sorry, did you hear that?
I didn't.
Okay, very well. I'm grateful for the story, and I did want to bring up some of our Black history. As we were talking, the city of Glenarden was 1939 when it decided that it wanted to not be the town, but to evolve itself into a full-fledged city. 1949, we had our charter reworked. In 1948, Harriet Truman, Executive Order 9981 to end segregation in the armed services. Glenarden itself as a community, many of the members then were coming from the armed services and were told that they couldn't live in DC, they couldn't live in Annapolis, go down there to the end of the railroad track to a little place where they are setting up called Glenarden. So Glenarden is like Fairmont Heights and many of the others in this area are like the foundation of African-American communities here in the state of Maryland. We go fast forward 10 years to Brown versus Board of Education, May 17, 1954, where the Supreme Court then decides to end racial segregation in public schools. As we look at our public school systems, one of the concerns that we have now is all tag schools versus the public schools. And why is it that my child can't go to the tag school, but have to be bused to a public school that's not in their area? Some of the same kind of conversation is happening here in 2024. You talked about Emmett Till in 1955, August the 28th, down in Mississippi, brutally murdered, a 14-year-old boy. And you in 2021, was it, when you went to Kentucky?
You know, years just kind of go by. I think it was probably 2022.
2022, yes, I knew it was recent. Come full circle from 1955 to 2022. You know, I highlight these year groups because it shows you what you started this conversation with is the victory is in the persistency and the continuation of moving the mission forward. You know, that's my motto. You have to keep moving. You cannot allow your train to be derailed by distractions on the left or distractions on the right. And that's what we are missing in a lot of our communities. So when you think about the Black on Black crime that's happening, the fight for us to reunify instead of segregating our own communities, what words of wisdom do you have relative to this problem that we're seeing growing in our Black communities?
I would say that it's our responsibility. If parents don't know what to teach their children, we have to maybe have classes after school, on weekends, on Zooms. It's easy now to have courses. And we have to make sure that our children who want to go to college can go to college. All of them aren't able to go. I know my mother wasn't able to send me to college, but she made it possible. She knew people in the community. She got them to help. She made sure we got to college if we wanted to go. She got help, people who got jobs for us there. We had got scholarships for us and what have you. We have to take up the slack when parents don't know what to do or don't have the ability to do and feel like those children are our children too. We have to insist upon our children knowing their history, knowing what their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents went through just to get them where they are, and never allow them to disrespect an elder person.
Exactly. And that's a nice segue into our youth in America. The utter disrespect. We are we're falling short as a community in teaching civic affiliations,
right,
and just baseline respect for not just the elders but ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't think schools even teach civics anymore, many of them.
No, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And really what they're teaching is kind of like a enumerated version. It's just a hit it and get off of it. But they're not teaching that it is an honor to serve, that it's an honor to be a volunteer. I wear my volunteer service medal from President Biden. Why? Because I think that it's an honor to recognize that you've given over 4,000 hours, didn't think it robbery to help others. That's the community spirit. You started off saying you're fearless and helping people gives you energy. That is some word right there. That is holy word. Because when you help someone else, you help feed your generations to come. You help feed yourself and you feed your generations. For every good thing that we put on the ground, we will be paying it forward. And I know that is a nice slang term that a lot of our youth like to understand, pay it forward. But do we really understand that in today's history, what that really means? We have an obligation to keep the movement forward.
Well, I'm pleased that I have probably 100 young people, some not so young, who look to me for advice, who call me mom or who call me auntie. And I'm really proud of that. I don't have children of my own, but I have loads of nieces, nephews who are doing things. I always try to help them, counsel them, whatever they need. If I have it, I offer it to them so that they can move ahead themselves. If they're ambitious, I want to help them achieve whatever it is they want to. I had people in my lifetime who did the same for me. So I owe it to young people today. And as I said, some of them aren't so young. I get calls from people who are older than I am for advice. I had a gentleman come by today who wants a book written about his life. He was from another country, but he had heard that I'm a writer and he wants me to write his life story. And I, of course, said yes. I even gave him a book that I've written so that he could take a look at it and see what my writing looks like, And he said, oh, yes, I want that. Now, he may never pay me. I don't get paid for everything that I do. As a matter of fact, I left the National Congress of Black Women after almost 20 years, but I still help people who are in the organization because I probably know a lot more about the organization than many of the newer people coming on. I feel I have a responsibility to help them succeed too.
And that is a key piece. The struggle is real. Achieving full solidarity and equality and the guaranteed civil rights of Americans is rooted, deeply rooted in the civic leadership of the people on this line and everyone that we'll touch in the future.
I tell the young people, I say, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, they didn't have cell phones. They didn't have cars, but they still got around and they did things to help our community. And I remind them of who some of those people are and what they went through. And when young people come to my home, they look at all the books in my home and they go, oh, you're rich. that makes me really happy for them to think that having books makes one rich, so long as you're reading them and you know what's in them. I keep a box of books here. So when young people come to my home, I have a book to give to them about something that they can read.
Thank you so much for that. My sister, Mildred, always tells me, with my two little girls, make them read.
Mm-hmm.
Make them read because you interpret it for yourself.
Right. By the way, I have a sister named Mildred too. My baby sister.
Oh my goodness. She's my senior. She's the senior of the family. Like she's the oldest child. I'm the baby child. So this is pretty awesome. But I've got a lot of folks on the line here. I know would love to ask some questions. If anyone wants to come on mute and talk to Dr. Ife Williams,
They
yes.
all know the answer. And and I've been learning a lot about Africa now, and the mayors there are called Lord Mayor. So I need to address you as Lord Mayor. Of course, they probably know everything about me that you have already asked. And if not, just tell them I have several books that they can read and they can learn more about me. Don't ask me any hard questions, Commissioner and Gloria. Don't ask me any hard questions.
Oh, I got a burning question. I apologize. I can't wait. All right. So, Her Excellency Ambassador Dr. Ife Williams.
You forgot my Reverend.
Yes. Well, Dr. Reverend.
Okay.
And your doctorate, your Juris Doctorate, Doctor of Law. Her Excellency, my Honorable Williams, my question is about your recent interview with Marvin Winans. Can you elaborate on what that felt like? Thank you.
Well, it was exciting, first of all. That's why I had them play the song so I could get accustomed to the fact that that's who I'm about to talk with. I am working on the project with them. We're going back 200 years to learn how they got their name. And of course, many of our names came from the master, the head of the plantation on which we were born. They were no different, but it was really exciting. We had fun. Usually I'll write out my questions, and think of everything I want to ask him. I didn't have to do that with him because he was so wonderful, so friendly, and so open that, he began talking and telling us things that were wonderful. But I think what most people enjoyed was the fact that we started out with one of the Winans songs. And I enjoyed it. It was a joy. It was not a job at all to have that program. And I believe Commissioner Ings, who's on, I did hear the program, and some others did too. But ultimately, we're going to have a film that covers the 200 years of the Winans.
Thank you, Commissioner. Your turn.
Well, Dr. Cross has a lot of people on the line here on this Zoom meeting. And I am just thrilled to be here because you reached out to me, Dr. Crossman, and I was getting ready for dinner. And I could hear it in your voice. And I said, oh my God, I'm gonna have to hold off on dinner to make sure I get on this call with Dr. Mayor Cross and Dr. Crossman. And when you said that Dr. Ife Williams was on here, I said, oh my God, I just definitely have to be here. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And we just are very happy to be here and to be of service. Thank you.
Well, it's always great to see you, Commissioner Ings, and thank you for joining us also from the World Council of Mayors and the works that you're doing over there with the Honorable Mayor Ford. As we look at Black History Month, we're looking at some of the urgings and American cities and uniting in this celebration of the achievement, teachers, particularly in school. I will say we've talked about teachers a little bit, but I will say that teachers now more and more are trying to bring that classroom time of contribution, if nothing else, than putting up a bulletin board so kids can ask questions. So I have seen that in many of our institutions here, schools, where teachers are trying their best to bring forth the achievement with diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI&A, you know, that's taken a root even in the departments, the Department of Defense. Many of our federal government agencies are bringing forward this idea of the inclusion and diversity. We're stronger together. And really, isn't that the American dream? When Ellis Island was stood up, and whether we came by boat or on our own accord, many of the dreamers that have now come full circle to the greatest achievement, which is all of us working together to achieve more. It's the togetherness. That U.S. story has a unique fabric. And I always say it's a unique fabric. You know, it's built out of adversity. It's built out of victories, and it's built out of disenfranchisement. It's built on a history of overthrow from the king, you know, of England. We have always been a nation that fought hard to achieve greater. And when I saw your story and many of the works that you've been able to touch, you know, an autobiography, children's book, working with, again, as we stated, the Winans family, bringing forth, you know, peace and human rights as an activist. How do we in America produce more of this activist spirit?
Well, I think when you're comfortable being an activist yourself, when you're accomplishing great things, I think you want others to do the same, and not just want them to do it, but be willing to help them to do it. I think that's where some of us fall down. We are very proud of ourselves and we talk about all the things we've done, but we forget that there are young people out there who are looking for a role model, who want that role model to show them how to do it. How did you do it? How did you grow up? And I always share the fact that I'm a country girl. I grew up in the country. Now, many people, as I was growing up, thought that I was from New York or someplace, you know, because I didn't sound like I was from down south. But I share my story, no matter how difficult it is or how difficult it was. I like them to know I've had my challenges. I've had difficulties. I never did like chemistry. I never did like algebra, you know, but I knew that I had to pass those courses in order to do the other things I wanted to do. So sometimes we have to do that, and we don't have to. We shouldn't allow young people to think that life is so easy, you know, and then they're not prepared for it when something happens that's a challenge for them. Let them know that you had and you still have your challenges, but you do things that are good for your community, that you can help other people. And the more you know, the more you can teach them.
And you know, you are a wonderful advocate for the community and drawing out that community spirit. If we don't, then who? There is a particular vein that we're in this year, and that's looking at the music, entertainment, and sports industries. Looking at those industries because we're seeing a lot of our young folks thriving in the technology world with the Twitters and the Facebooks and Instagramming, and, you know, overnight successes even as an influencer. What role models do is help identify the pathway to maintaining not only virtue, but respecting those skills. You know, famous people didn't get famous because they didn't respect their craft. And that's something that you're teaching us today about respect your role that you're playing in the community. That's why it's so important that we build those role models and that we as civic leaders be able to teach our next generations how to take up that mantle and demonstrate similar alike. We look at Earl Graves, you know, founding of Black Enterprise magazine. I mean, he was an influential person. He was also a parent. If you look at him authoring Black business development, if you look at Mr. Claiborne, and he was a history teacher, U.S. congressman, focusing on environmental justice and civil rights. I mean, you look at some of these leaders, they're not people that we always celebrate during Black History Month. But Minister Franklin, Robert Franklin, the author of Social Justice, former president of the largest African-American theological center, right? Former president even of Morehouse College. The Black institutions of higher learning have always installed, when children go there, like Howard, like Hampton, to fight through the struggles, because you then become the knowledge, the courage, the determination of the future. And they keep that namesake sacred and build on it. And family, you can't pick your family, but what you can do is influence what your life cycle looks like. And that's something that, as a mayor, I've been on this journey to get our youth to own it. Own it. That's what I tell my children. No matter what path you want to go down, it's nobody's fault but yours. Own it. Good path, bad path, and genuine path. Own it, because I can help you then. See, I can help you when you're truthful to yourself. The struggle is in the truth. Tell yourself the truth, and I can help you. I look at some of these heroes and sheroes, as we call them, in our community, and I bring a few of them out. Charles Ogletree, you're an Esquire. He's also a lawyer, a law professor, former chairman for the Black American Law Students Association, and also, director of the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Race and Justice. As we look at some of these role models, we are really living off of their legacies. Each generation supports 3 generations ahead. And so I'm grateful for the work that you've done, for how you are reaching back in history, how you are bringing forth with your radio station, with your books and your cover, the hindsight of what the future has to be in order to be better than we are today.
Yeah, and there are so many women who've done such great things, and we have to remember some of them. I know we often think of the men, because even when I was growing up, much of the discussion in Black history was about what the men did. But then we forget about Diane Nash, who was a young woman in college when she was running things in that civil rights movement. We have to remember Sojourner Truth, who walked from Massachusetts to Washington, D.C. to go into the president's office. We can't even do that today. She just walked right in. She said she wasn't welcomed, but she went in because she had something to say, and she made it. And we have to think about people like Fannie Lou Hamer, who was beaten severely, but it didn't stop her. She said, what, her feet may be tired. She put that S on it too. But her soul was rested because she was doing something great. We just look at so many women. If I could take an aside, Sojourner Truth is in the United States Capitol right now because of the work that I didn't do it by myself. I just happened to be in charge of the organization to get her in that United States Capitol with a memorial. And she is there and proudly there. And you know what? When I used to go there every summer and stand by that statue when we first got it in the Capitol. And you know who would pass by and just kind of look the other way? It was some of our people. White people always came over. They were, who is this woman who is in this Capitol? They would come over and they would talk. I'd have to go out and kind of pull Black people over because they weren't sure and they didn't want, I don't know what they thought, but they would not come over and look at it and say, who is this woman? Why is she in the Capitol? But we have to honor our people. And I say to them, even if you have to take a piece of tin and put somebody's name on it, nail it to that old oak tree, do it. We got to start honoring our people who've been doing things. We don't do enough of that. We can't be putting people down who caused us to be where we are today. And if we're not where we want to be, all you do is latch on to somebody who's doing something. And they can teach you what you need to do. You're never too old. You can just pick up wherever you are and get started doing something wonderful, helping somebody. And just as it says, Mr. Gregory used to say, all that hate and that jealousy and all that stuff, that's what makes us sick. That's why we're sick all the time. We have got to learn how to be useful in our community to help young people, and not just young people, but there are older people who could use a bit of lecturing, who could use a bit of help in terms of what they can do. Because there's some people who think they can't make a difference in their community. So we have to show them how they can take their hand and allow them to work in something we're working in, and just show them, even if they just have to follow us around and see what we are doing, until they find something that they can do that makes a difference, and how proud they are then. And we have to congratulate them instead of, talk about them bad, because too many of us are doing that right now. I see too many, and unfortunately, there are some Black women who are doing it to Black women. And, we try to be kind to them, try to rein them in and to talk. And then when I was looking at this program on television recently about Black men, there were a number of those young people who were talking about voting for that other person who shouldn't be voted for. And but what really hurt was the statement he made. He said, "Oh, we do a lot of things, but Black women always get the credit." I mean, imagine how that sounded to someone who wants to believe that, instead of congratulating all the Black women for all that we have gone through and still go through. This young brother, just because somebody got him out of prison, says, we do a lot of stuff, but the Black women get all the credit.
Dick Gregory said, in the South, they didn't mind how close I got, so long as I didn't get too big. Right. And in the North, they didn't mind how big I get, so long as I don't get too close.
Right, yes. In my
That's
book,
the double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah. And by the way, I'm doing a second edition. There was so much about him. I was rushing right after he passed away to get that one book done, because I write when I'm in pain, and I left a lot of things out. So I'm doing a second edition now, which should be coming out soon. And I sit here at night sometimes till 2, 3, all night, and I'm writing right now. Some people think they can't write a book. Just in the last year, I've written a book about my mom, who's deceased, and one of her great-great-grandsons who loved her so much. And I've written a book about a young woman who had a disease called arthrogryposis. I'd never heard of it. I had to research it, but her dream was to have her story written. I wrote it for her. I'm writing one on Cicely Tyson, who was one of my great friends, who actually did the speech when we put Sojourner Truth in the Capitol. She did that. Michelle Obama did the speech for the event. Everybody who's my friend is not just my friend. They help me do things. I help them do things. I'm writing a book about Congressman Mervyn Dimely. Many people don't know that he was the first Lieutenant Governor of California. And for a few days, when the governor was out of whack, he became the governor of California. I'm writing about Coach Eddie Robinson, all the people I know who've done great things. I want other people to know about them. And because from experience, I know them, I want to share what their teachings were with other people that I know.
Dr. Ife Williams, you are a phenomenal woman, phenomenally. The limited edition Wake Up and Stay Woke by Dr. Ife Williams, Esquire, is coming soon. You are able to pre-order that from the Dick Gregory Society website.
It's thedickgregorysociety.org. It's the exact site, thedickgregorysociety.org. Yes. We are doing the ebook on that one, because I've got a second edition coming after that.
Absolutely. I really am honored to have you online with me. The Mayoral Community Forum was crafted and created at the start of my mayoralship in the city of Glenarden as a way to educate and refine our knowledge in many different facets. We've talked to budding chefs, we've talked to environmentalists, we've talked to people that want to teach financial literacy, which is a key piece in growing healthy communities. We've even had folks who were part of the prison system, returning citizens, talking now from becoming a multi-million-dollar doctor who decided that enough was enough and started to educate and train on evolving yourself, self-ministry. And, you know, this is the type of community work that we're doing, social activism, positive difference makers, being a part of life. And then I like that you said something about Dick Gregory and the comedy of it all. We take ourselves so seriously, and we have a mission. But I believe that comedy is food for the soul. And you know, you can't shout if you can't laugh, right? So you gotta
Right.
you gotta really enjoy what you're doing. And I tell folks all the time, if you don't just love it, then we need to check our core mission. All right. If you don't just love it, and I can tell you love it, you love being a difference maker, and you love telling the story of real life heroes and sheroes that may not have gotten their time to shine. And I just want to say thank you, first and foremost, for the support that you have given, for the education that you've given us today, the context of the larger community that you've shared on this line, and the approach that we as community leaders and community volunteers can do beyond our society to ensure that, as you state, students have the necessary support to do their best learning and to live their best lives.
Well, I see that you know a lot of quotes by Mr. Gregory, as I call him. Other people call him Dick Gregory. To me, he was always Mr. Gregory or Dr. Gregory. It was a very formal but very good friendship. And one of my favorites for him in terms of talking about from where he had come, he said, you know, when I was growing up, we were so poor that if a rat ran across the floor, we just knew he was taking a shortcut to somebody else's house because we didn't have nothing to give him. And basically, that's the way I grew up, but we shared whatever we had.
Wow. Amen. Thank you so much for that. I am
Thank you.
grateful for your work. And again, please, everyone, take a look at the Dick Gregory Society. Find some influence there. Stay woke, and wake up and stay
Yes,
woke.
Absolutely.
There it is. Wake up and stay woke.
And when you go to the
February.
Dick Gregory site, you can just click on his site and come over to my site too, because I have things on both sites. I am so happy that I was on tonight, and I am so pleased that you invited me to come on. And I thank my friends that I see there on the screen who also came on. We work together on a lot of things. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, and we do it. Just yesterday, Commissioner Ings asked me to do another job. I think he's asked me to do about 5 things now. But yesterday was one of them. And I always say, how could you refuse him? Because he does just as much as we do.
Yes, he does. And I'm grateful. That's why he's like, well, I set off dinner because I wanted to be on the line with our ladies here. No, it's the work that we're all doing. We've got Dr. Samuel Jacobs Abbey, who does a strategic leadership training. And then he does, you know, a big award ceremony so that he is showing that we in civic society and civic association have to have the character to sustain, you know, good diplomacy and order. And he's doing that on the world stage. And I don't know if you want to talk anything about that, Dr. Abbey, but this last course, 3 continents he spanned in one class.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Your Excellency, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to see your great work. We are all excited about the great work you're doing. I've read a couple of your books. I've researched a lot about your work. It brings inspiration. I recall I met with you at the National Press Center during the I think the award ceremony. I've forgotten what it was, but it was the peace ringing bell ceremony. I had a long chat with you, and since that I have admired your work. Yes, like Mayor said, I think it is important to bring inspiration to people, particularly people with color. I pay particular attention to that because one of the reasons why I took on as a professor at Morris Brown College in Atlanta is because I felt that it is important we give people of color the opportunity to catch up, because the system, the society has done a lot of disservice to people of color. And in order for us to catch up, I personally believe that we need to be intentional. Most of us, unfortunately, in our society, we think being intentional, it's about racism. It is not, because we have been deprived for a very long time. And so when I listen to you and when I read your books and when I hear you talk, you rejuvenate the whole process of doing a little more than we are even doing now. One of the reasons why I'm so attached to Mayor Cashenna Cross, it's because she has no apology for doing what is right for people of color. And I believe it's a call for all of us to ensure we continue to push and push until we are tired of pushing. Then people will recognize and appreciate the fact that we are successful. I have always told people that, listen, in as much as people may perceive it, let's look at the Black race and see how much of achievement we have talked to ourselves. We have doctors of international reputes. We have learned professors. We have great lawyers. We have great sportsmen. But why is it that when it comes to recognizing and appreciating our contribution to national development, people find it so difficult to give us credit where it's due? But they are quick to celebrate our wins as part of the national success. This is where I challenge my students at the HBCUs to ensure that nothing stops them. And I like the way you put it. The sky is always the limit. Nothing should stop us.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, because what I'm doing, I think Lord Mayor Cashenna mentioned it, writing a children's book. And in each of the chapters, I'm putting a Black fact in it so that even little kindergartners and first graders can know about these people, because they may not always get them at school. They may not get them at home. And it's an honor for me to be able to do that. Sometimes I have to look up some people too, because thus far I've written 58 chapters, I believe. But there are a lot more that I want to get out there and to teach young people and let them know that, quote, they are somebody. That was our motto at Grambling. I am somebody, And of course, Reverend Jackson used to tell us that too. I am somebody. We've got to keep on telling our children, and not just our children, but our people, because some of them are so down, And I want to say that if any of you ever want to be on my radio program, I do a public affairs program on WPFW FM 89.3. Just give me a call, and I know you've got something to say. I'm always looking for great things to let people know what we're doing. And lately, Commissioner Ings and Gloria and Mayor Cashenna all can tell you that in the World Conference of Mayors, we are associating so much with our people. We have we have several meetings, not just one, but we have several meetings. We learn things about them. They learn things about us. And that wasn't always the case, but we're doing much better in that right now. We just left Eatonville, where we had people from Cameroon to come. We had people from the Gambia, from Haiti, from just all over. And we just love each other while we're there. We share our talents. We share. I had the pleasure today of sharing what Valentine's Day meant to a friend in the Gambia. So I'm sure he told me about calling mayors Lord Mayor. So I'm going to call all Black mayors from now on Lord Mayor.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Yep.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am grateful for this conversation. I did see Pastor James Johnson Jr. online, Dr. Mazzali online. I just want to acknowledge your presence and say thank you. We had Dr. Makakuve online. Wonderful spirits out in the community. I don't know if you gentlemen had something you wanted to say on this program. Please feel free.
Greetings, Honorable Lord Mayor Cross.
Dr. Ife, you're going to get me in trouble.
Yes, it's been a pleasure to enjoy Ambassador Williams on this evening, and Pro Tem Samuel Eames, who we have been battling in Orlando, Florida, and now working with him in the Holden Heights community, and honorable professors and doctors. And it's been a pleasure just to listen in. I think I'm just getting started working with the community compared to your resume, but I'm out. We will be relocating to the Landover, Maryland area. That's where we will be working along with the gyms there to bring the Africans overseas to train with Sugar Ray Leonard and his gyms. And we've been here along with Mayor Cross giving out the grants to a lot of organizations. So I would just honor each and every one of you, and great work that Mayor Cross and Mayor Crossland has been doing. And Bishop sends his love, Bishop Lockhart. God bless.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And hi, Bishop. Good to see you. Bishop had a long stint there, actually came out of Glenarden to Sierra Leone, right? And as a member of the high ministerial community there. And so we are grateful for the international work that we continue to put on the ground with folks like Dr. Adama, who is Seeds of Hope, and also Impact Sierra Leone, and the Clarendon, Kingdom Clarendon work that we're doing with Dr. Keith Raw down there in San Antonio, Texas. We just really are grateful for the amount of community servant leaders. And I say servant leaders because we put our hands to the plow and we get the works done. I just want to bring out some more Black community. Jonetta Cole, professor of anthropology, African American and Women's Studies, also a past president of Spelman College and HBCU, past president of Bennett College, director of the Smithsonian Museum of African Art. Want to put some more influential people in our minds here. Miss Mary Futrell, teacher, former president of the National Education Association, former dean and graduate school of education as well. So you mentioned many women doing great things. There are, and of course, Kamala Harris, our vice president of the United States, these United States of America, and my soror.
I was going to say, you can say she was an AKA. It's okay.
We are blessed.
But she's our sister, and we supported her. We helped to get her over, and that's why I like it that you keep on wearing that red.
Love you all. This has been a fantastic mayoral forum. When you have this much influence on the line, I love the genuineness of this call. I want our young folks to see that with all of your accolades, which spans 3 pages, single line, you are human. You are approachable, and you are humble to the service and committed to it. And that's what we praying that in this Black History Month observation, in this mayoral forum, we've been on the line with the phenomenal, honorable Dr. Ife Williams.
We love you, Dr. Williams.
Love you, Dr. Crossland.
A notable peace ambassador, international legacy with the Dick Gregory Society. We have met our time on this line. I am grateful for all of our community leaders, liaisons that have joined us today. This has been a phenomenal mayoral community forum. And as I always say, I'm going to let you have the last word, Dr. Ife Williams, on this, but you keep moving the mission forward. Mayor Cashenna A. Cross in the city of Glenarden, over to you, Dr. Ife Williams.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to see so many friends and then to see some new friends. So I look forward to hearing from you. My email is simple. It's just my name, Dr. Ife Williams @gmail.com. And the last thing I want to say is let us remember our children and do whatever we can to make them grow up to be wonderful adults, helping our community. And I know, young children are smarter than we are. And the way that I know they are, none of them have a full-time job. We just keep on working, so we might as well get them, to help us to do and show us to do how some things too. We got a lot of things out there that we haven't learned as adults. I always put it on my grandmother. I said, my grandmother doesn't know, so please explain this to me. But it's actually me. I don't know everything, even with all those degrees. So I'm still open to learning, and you all can teach me too.
Amen. Amen. Thank you all so much for joining us for this February Mayoral Community Forum. Keep moving the mission forward.
Great job. Great job.
Have a great evening.
Thank you all.
Go and eat, Sam. Okay.